Anybody new? Oh, Annabelle. Okay. She knows so much already. Okay. So I don't need all of this. And what I'm going to do is show you something that, to me, it's just, I can't believe it. And one of the things that I can't believe about is that Rudolf Steiner said that we needed to have, go back into the Egyptian period, this time consciously. And you've heard that not. You know, they had clairvoyance, we don't. We have to earn our clairvoyance. And they had a lot of things that came, you know, to them in that way that doesn't come to us. So by studying those mysteries, there's a code and there's a clue in those mysteries. And I found one. When, like I told you before, I had no intent to do any of this. You know, the heart, I just wanted to make this form. And I call it new form technology because these are new forms. These things haven't been here since the year 2000 when they arrived, which was in January 2000 came. So there's something to do with that date. And why these things have been studied between 6,000 and 8,000 years ago. Protonic forms are over 4,000 years. But they have records, you know, on stones in Scotland. And of course there are Egyptians geometry drawings on their temples that are 8,000 years old. So I mean, this has been around before language. So there's a mystery behind it that, as contemporary beings, maybe we can start to understand it, or you know, get some kind of clue what's behind this. So you know, the simplest thing in the world was to draw a circle like I did before, and then take the center of it, this distance here, and go around the circle in such a way that we get 6, right? Like this. I've got it right here. Now we get a hexagram, right? I didn't get all my marks right, but I'm not using the compass, but I can do it, or you can do it perfect. Okay, so that's amazing that the distance from here to here divides the circle into 6. That's a whole totally mystery. I mean, who did that? Who did that? And you know, when I talk about the heart, what the geometry is saying that someone used it. Because it's a design. The heart is a design of an organ that's based on geometry. Okay, so one of the problems that I have when I give lectures is that this brings a question in people's mind, is like, well, who is the designer? That's a good question. Who designed this geometry? Who designed what manifested out of it? Who is that? Is that you know, Mr. Google or Miss Google? I mean, you don't know who that is, do you? So that's a very interesting question. Anyway, so this is a hexagram, you know, is really 2 equilateral triangles, you know, like this, right? And of course, if I draw a circle in those equilateral triangles, it's half the size of the original one. Is that amazing? That's so simple, yet it's wild. Of course, this is taught in the Waldorf schools. And also was taught 8,000 years ago. And all the students, you know, learn this geometry. So, okay, the 7-sided form. The 7-sided form, I showed you in a cube. Yeah? I showed it to you in a cube. There it is in bronze. A here it shows where it's related to the octahedron, which is the cube, the hexagram, which is the cube, and the octahedron, which is air, which is light. So the Chestahedron is right in between. It's between 6 and 8. This is between 6 and 8. It has 12 edges. It has 28 total. It has 2 polygons. 1 polygon compared to the octahedron, 1 polygon compared to the hexagon. Combined together, and the areas are 1. So to get this relationship of this form and related to these 2 forms is what I was after. Okay. So, like again, I told you that this is scaffolding that I'm showing you. This is all scaffolding of something that becomes organic. Okay, and I showed you this and how the scaffolding is there. And of course, in this temple, which is supposed to be between 8 and 6,000 years old, there is a burnt-in, they can't explain it, but there's a burnt-in image, okay, in one of the walls, okay? And this is the image, and it shows it burnt in. No one can figure out how they did it 8,000 years ago. But it's known, okay, as the flower of life. This is taught in all the water schools. And this is, if you go on the internet, you will see this hundreds and hundreds of times of artists who have interpreted and tried to figure out, you know, what it's been, but also how beautiful it is. And they draw it and they make different colors and so forth and so on. But it is known as the flower of life. And inside it, they have a smaller image which they call the seed of life. I want to show you those two. We have the seed, which goes in the middle. You see it? You see how the 7 goes inside here? Here it is. It's kind of a little brighter. Now, of course, what this is all about is the circles. Those circles, okay, are all about root 3. Every one of those are root 3. The root 3 is going here, 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 all over. This is also the balance. This is also between the right and left ventricle. This is the balance that we need that I think will bring in the 5th chamber. We'll be able to go from one extreme to the other easily without tension. We cannot get tensed up when we have a tragedy in front of us. We have to feel that tragedy. Okay? But we have to, like Rudolf Steiner says, we have to face the terror that's coming from the future with equanimity. And that equanimity is in our human heart. Okay? And that's where we can't get stuck in congestive heart failure. Okay, we can't get stuck in a constricted giraffe heart. Okay, we have to be able to go between those 2 polarities with equanimity. That means that we can't put a judgment value on terror. We have to understand it, we have to study it, we have to do all those things, yeah. But we can't get stuck on what it's doing to us, what it's not doing to us. We have to feel it, okay, through our heart. We have to feel what's coming to us, okay, from the future. Our heart, not with our thinking. The thinking helps the heart, and the will helps the heart, okay? But it's not all about the extremes of thinking or willing. It's in between. It's in the feeling. So we have to start to develop what they call hard thinking. And that's what you're seeing here is hard thinking. It's a geometry based on a lawful mood. Okay, so enough of that. Preaching. Go back to this guy here. This whole thing is based on hexagrams. This one here. So that's the first clue that we got something here that relates to the human heart. All right. So if you take 7 coins, 7 pennies and whatever. You put 1 penny in the center, and then you put all the other pennies around the outside. What do you get? You get a hexagram. And what is that? 7. To get a hexagram, you need 7. Okay. So, how they got this, okay, is that they did this from periphery to periphery to periphery to periphery. Everything is on the periphery. But this one, okay, what they did is they went from the center, I mean, on the circle, and the center, and the center, and the center, and the center, and the center. So we have 6 here. And then what they did is they drew a straight line down here, the Egyptians. Well, I don't know if they did this or not, but that's what I did. I put another circle here, another circle. They're all supposed to be the same size. This is known as the fruit of life. Egyptians call this the fruit of life. This is the seed of life, the fruit of life, and the flower of life. Now what's interesting is that you have 7 here. 6, 7. And then if you add these, you have 13. There's no 13-sided form. Until 2008, I discovered a 13-sided form. Never seen before. All new. And how I discovered this is I found that this was inside this one. So I had 7, which is a prime number. Okay, let's put qualities to it. This is 13, another prime number. And then if you take this and spin it, if you spin this like a vortex, this circle, okay, is supposed to be here, and here, and here, and here. I'm just not drawing it right. And it equals 19. So the flower of life has 19 circles. So there's 19 circles out here. They start out with 1 and then 7 and then 13 and 6 more. Makes 19. I have discovered a 19-sided form. Never seen before in the brain. This is coming out of this form. Okay. So now let me go back here and I want to show you that the Chestahedron was developed from a tetrahedron. You know that. This was put into a cube, right? And it was spun as a vortex in the cube, and it got smaller, didn't it? And it turned into have 7 sides. Right in the middle, all the surface areas are equal. Right in the middle of the cube. Which I showed you before. All right, so this is, what I showed you is, this is. So this is warm. I'm sorry, this is fire. But on the side, the other side of the threshold, this is warmth. So on this side, on our side, it's fire. But on this side that you can't see, it's warmth. So what I did was open this up. And instead of contracting it, I opened it up and expanded it. No one has ever done this before with any platonic. And all these thousands of years, no one's ever opened up one. And so I opened it up, and I knew that if I opened it up, I knew that these make planes, because all I have to do is put it down here on the surface. You have a plane which closes this shape. We need to close the shape into a polyhedron, which has 7 sides. So I knew that once I opened this up, there was a point where I would have them equal. I knew that. And I also knew that if I kept opening it up, I get an octahedron. Yeah, people can follow me. So there's a triangle here that's equal to these. On the side, and this side, and on top. That's an octahedron. If I bring it back here, it's the Chestahedron. Bring it here, it's the tetrahedron. Okay. So if I do that, I'll put my form inside this. See how it is? See how I did it? But I opened it up until I found a hexagram. Now if I open it up more, one side gets too long, the other one's too short. If I close it in, one side gets too short, one gets too long. There's only a particular spot that I can open this up to make a hexagram, which happens to be 94.8 degrees. And that's called a dihedron. Okay, so I opened it up. Now when I opened it up, that meant that somehow I had to find out what comes out of, to meet this. Something has to come in lawfully to meet this form, to close it up. Now I can put it down flat like this, like I showed you before, and I can get a plane. But what I found out was I needed to, I found a form that when I closed it, I took a flat plane, and this one, I opened it, I opened it up. Then I found another form that I could close, that would come in and meet this. So you have a form that's opening up and one that's closing. So you have a balance again? Okay. What I found was a pentagram. High pointing star. If you look at the Egyptians, they have a, they have all kinds of stars are always pentagrams. So what I did was I just took this pentagram and I folded it up. Now it's 4. Easy, huh? Then I folded it up again and I got 3. Recognize that shape? If I take that shape, I better use a rubber band. Well, maybe I can do it by myself. I'll try. So what's coming in is a pentagram. It makes a Chestahedron perfect. It is now equal sides. Perfect equal area sides. By unfolding pentagram into an unfolding Chestahedron. Now that's amazing. I couldn't do that. How could I come up with, how could I do that? There it is. So, I'll put a clip on this to show you. Keep it around. If I set this down, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, and the bottom 4 triangles. And as you know, if I open it up till I get a hexagram, and I fold this together, I also get a hexagram. Look at it. There's a hexagram in this thing too. That means this side is equal, 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 equal. Just my drawing. It's equal. Now, if I open this star up a little bit too big, it distorts the hexagram, of course. Or if I close it in, it does the same thing. There's only a certain place that the hexagram is developed from this star. And it just so happens that they're exactly in the same spot. They're exactly in the same spot. The hexagrams are together at the same spot. So I have this accurately done, of course, in geometry. And there it is. Now that's amazing. Couldn't do that. Couldn't do that. I can't. But there it is. So this is a reality. And this is on the other side of the threshold. This is on the side that Grosssteiner calls suction. When you see the heart, it's in a cube. It's called pressure. You have pressure, you have suction. So, to get these forms, the platonic forms, you're trained to push points or corners and make planes. So if you push a cube on all its 8 corners, you get an octahedron which has 8 faces. That's the way we do it. But in this case, that's not the case. This case, you have to push corners and edges. And that's why it's never been found, because no one has taken the platonic forms and done 2 different ways. They haven't touched edges. All they've done is done corners. But no one's done corners and planes at the same time. That's one reason. It's never discovered. Now, since this is the case, this is amazing. if I take this form I have on the board right here, the easiest way for me to explain that is what I did. What I did is I saw that I could take this out here like this. And I could do this. And I could do this. You see what I did? I did this. And I did one off the board. See what I did? Is that easy? Just take a pentagram, and a hexagram, and stem lines. 1 point there, 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 1 point there. I got 2 equilateral triangles, just like I had here. And I did that. So I'll show you what I did. The actual model. I took the pentagram that's inside this 7-sided form, and I extend the lines out. Does that make sense? You need to really see this. I don't want you to just have faith. I want you to believe that this is real. You need to really see that this is real of what I did. Anybody who doesn't get it, raise your hand, I'll let you have it. Come on up here, look at this. You see, there's a 6-pointed star there. There's 2 equilateral triangles, right? The Star of David, they call that. You see the triangles? You see how they're coming from the hexagram in the middle?
Yeah.
See the hexagram?
Right.
Okay, good.
I see this hexagram.
Oh, I do too, yes.
And I see
That's right, good.
Okay.
That's lawful what you're seeing.
Okay.
So there's no cheating, no making up,
Right.
no subjectiveness.
Okay.
Good. Now it's important that she comes up and sees that because now you believe it. Okay. So one of the things that really bothered me about this form, and bothered me for a long time, and I don't know how long, but I would say, from what I remember, it bothered me maybe a year and a half. Maybe it bothered me a year and a half. I have a measuring device in here somewhere. If I don't find it, it doesn't matter because I can still show you what I'm trying to show. I have it. This is one of the tools that I use as a geometrist. This can open up. There it is. Very expensive. They're made in Germany. I have 2 sizes. So I can do all kinds of proportional relationship, which I need. Okay. So this has really bothered me. If I take this distance from here to here, see that? I have that distance? That's not right at the bottom. The bottom is too long. I want the hexagram in the middle. It's not. Look, if I put it here, I get it exactly here. See how short it is? Messing me up, right? Playing around with me, right? Well, I lived with it for a long time. And one of the things about doing this work is that you have to live with what you find. If you think it's a mistake, well, find out if it is. Or wait. Just wait. I waited. I just waited on this. What's going to happen? What is that? Well, when I extended this out to this circle, I found out what it meant. You can see that lawfully I brought that to this circle. Put a sphere in. The top touches perfect. Put a sphere in the bottom. It touches perfect. This is the equator of the sphere. And the hexagram is right in the middle of the sphere. So my finding was a lot better than trying to cheat. I found out that it hits the equator of a sphere. This form fits in a sphere. And it doesn't move around. because this point touches and these three here touch. And why it's shorter is because it comes out at this angle. Not amazing? Look at that. So in the sphere, there's the Star of David, or there's two equilateral triangles, whatever. Okay, so what you're watching, this is a miracle that I had nothing to do with except work. I'm trying to figure out what it was. Okay. So what I did was I put it in the flower of life. Same proper disc. What happens in the shipping of these things? They have these kind of big people throw things around. It gets kind of bent, but it's lawful and it's coming apart, and I'll fix it. But it is the same seven-sided form and the same size that we have. Okay, but what it does is it circles the seed of life. This is the seed of life, and this is the flower of life. Now that's amazing that can be. And that means that there's a sphere around the flower of life, and there's a disc, a two-dimensional disc, that goes around the flower of life. All the water schools teach this, but not like this. This is the mystery that I'm getting to. Now, I'll set this up here. Like this. Right. Yeah, there it is. That's pretty good. Now, inside the form, there is another hexagram. Now, I've drawn the hexagram in there. So, the outside hexagram makes the Chestahedron. There is an inside hexagram, okay, that turned out to be a cube. So inside the Chestahedron, there's a cube. And it shows that. Here's the Star of David. Here's where the Chestahedron goes. And the hexagram inside this outside one is another hexagram that makes a cube.
Both sides.
Now remember, I showed you how I made a cube, didn't I? I showed you how you pull it up at root 3. You're going to say, well, how does he think that's a cube? Because it's a hexagram when you start out. And you know when I pull that up, it makes a cube. So it's lawful. Well, here's another one. Now, start to kind of make sense out of this. Why is there a cube in the center of this? And if you come up here, when you do, you'll see the holes that make the cube are in there. You know what I mean? So you can see that I have the lines exactly where they're supposed to be to make that cube. There's no, I didn't have to make anything up. You'll see it. So, the next thing I did was I put them together. So there's a bottom. Okay, there's a bottom of the Chestahedron with the cube coming through, and the top of that cube comes through. And I took the top off of this little pointed one here, so it's real easy to see. Now to show you how you do that, I showed that if you cut a cube in half, okay, there's a circle, a hexagram. So if you take root 3 on this end, stand it up like this, and cut the cube in half, it makes a hexagram. Isn't that amazing? And that circle is in a form. So I know that I'm not cheating, you got a cube. Now, inside here, there's a sphere. And there it is. There's a sphere inside the cube. So inside this cube, there's also a sphere. But you can see, my sphere is too small, isn't it? How small it is? Is that right? Is that really real? Is that circle really supposed to? Is that where the circle is in the sphere? Piece of plastic. And how about a sphere on it? No? And then I take a cube and put it on top of that sphere. Half a cube. Like that. Now, to this accurate, if I move the cube, the sphere should go with it, if I'm correct. There's no wiggle at all. And at the bottom, you'll see that the circle is smaller than this circle, or the circle around the hexagram. Yeah, it's smaller, but see how? See how it's awful? That's why the sphere is smaller in the hexagram than the cube. Okay, there we go. I'm going on more here. Okay. If I take this original one, which I have one that's broken up here, this one. I studied the core and the inner core and outer core and the crust of the Earth. These are seismic studies off the internet, perfect. It tells you exactly the size of the core, it tells you the size of the outer core and the periphery of the mantle and the crust. You go on any side of the Earth core, push on the internet images, hundreds of them. And this was all decided and found by scientists using seismic studies. Earthquakes at first, now they have measurements where they can make sound through. It makes a diversion, they measure the difference and so forth. If you go on the internet and read, it tells you how to do it. So these are accurate. Well, if I take the flower of life, okay, and I draw a sphere, the same size as this one. Remember, I scale everything. The same size as this one. It's about that big. That's that lead ball. Now, this has been around for a long time, and so has the flower of life. But nobody has ever been able to put the sizes and the measurement of the core of the Earth with this. But they've been trying, but they're not been able to do it. Okay. This is exactly the size of the core, inner core. Okay. And this is exactly the size of the seed of life. That circle is exactly the size of the Earth. Now, that's amazing that I've got two of them that's coming off this. And why wasn't this ever discovered before, after these seismic studies? Okay, nobody put this in a third dimension. This has always been a plane. It's now a third dimension, based on the seven-sided form. The seven-sided form is the structure that maintains this in 3 dimensions. Right here. This is the size of the Earth, and the core is the size of the sphere inside the cube. And now we have the other core. Now the other core is about here. Okay, on the flower of life. But the core of the Earth is bigger than that. It's more like this. So why they've just rejected the flower of life in relationship to our Earth is because they haven't the geometry. I mean, who would ever think that a seven-sided form would fit in here exactly and make a sphere, same size as the Earth, and makes a cube in the middle? Now, here it is again. So you have to check yourself. You have to make sure that, you know, is this bunk or what? So you can't just go off the first thing and say, yeah, it works. Go on and make a statement. No, you need to have more evidence than one example. So what I did is I made this form. There's the seven-sided form in a sphere, which touches all over. And I told you that there was a cone that was running into the human heart. Okay, and I told you that it was determined by the size of this circle on the bottom when I spin, and that's 26 degrees. All accurate. And here it is. So if I take this out, okay, you'll see that that's 26 degrees. You know? It's the same thing, like that. See how it touches the apex? Just like I told you? And it's also the size of the bottom circle when I spin it. And that circle that you have right there is the size of the core of the Earth. And I'll show you what I mean. If I take this apart, I take the top half off right at the middle, I put it back in. There it is. See the circle size? There's no gap between the two circles, between the cone and the circle, look. And that's right in the middle of that paper. So if I take, remember it's all the same size, same cone. If I take this little core out up here, and I put it in here, the same size. If I take it out of the core, out of there, and I put this back in, well, I made it plastic so I could do this. That cone, it's exactly level, like the other one did, it was underneath. And that thing is exactly the size of the core of the Earth. Okay. Another one you put up. Get my plastic stands. Another you can look at. I'll put my core back. There's the core, the equator, the whole bit. Here's the size of the core in relationship to the cube. Now the cube is fitting this one perfect. And now you know why the core is smaller than the Earth. Now comes the outer core. Now the outer core is different. What I had to do. I found the outer core in relationship to the geometry. And there it is. If I take the same scale and the same Chestahedron, okay, and what I do is I take the top of the Chestahedron, this part, where the equilateral triangles come, and I remove these three wires. I get a triangle, of course. So here are the three wires at the bottom. I don't have one that shows that. But if I take it off, then there should be a sphere that touches this circle that comes to the equator. And sure enough, there is. And that is exactly the size of the outer core. Based on the geometry of the Chestahedron again. And you can look at it at the exact right. So I'll leave that. This at the top and come apart. Now you're going to think, well, now wait a minute. If you have that, is that really true? Because will that top fit back on? And I have an example here that I'm going to find right here. That if you put the top of the Chestahedron back on, there it is, and there is the outer core of the Earth. Remember that all of this is based on scaffolding. It's not there anymore. But it's the design behind it that we're after. Okay, so what do I tell you next? I put the sphere in the globe of the Earth. As if this is all related to Earth, there's got to be some relationship. So when I was studying this, I came across a lecture that was on the internet. That one man said that there was a tetrahedron-like form inside the Earth. I looked it up and drew this tetrahedron and clouds around it. But this was before the space people went out and saw that, you know, it was a sphere. And then, during that same year, Rudolf Steiner had a lecture. It was the third lecture before he died. It was called Studying Volcanism and What Was Inside the Earth. And he said that one point that there was an invariant tetrahedron, or a bowed-out tetrahedron, or, these are quotes out of him, a somewhat tetrahedron. These are his quotes. He quoted 22 times in this lecture that there was somewhat of a tetrahedron, a pyramid, in this Earth. So he gave the points. One of the points was the South Pole. That makes sense. And one of the points was in Japan. Now, when I spun this around, before I knew that, I knew that the only way I could get land masses, not water, okay, was to line it up with Japan. Because this tetrahedron that's at the top here, or this triangle that's at the top, is a certain size because it has to hit the bottom. And so if I turn this around, all these points have different places on the Earth. And when I got to Japan, then the other three hit the Earth. And that's where he said that that was one of the points of the tetrahedron in the Earth. And the other one was in Nebraska, somewhere around in Nebraska. I don't know. Of course. You can imagine going there to try to find it. But anyway, and the other one was near Greece. It was near a mountain range in Russia, kind of in that area. I think the latitude is 141.2 or 142. You remember the latitude? Well, I think it was 141.2.
No, the latitude is like 41 and 2, between 41 and 42.
It's in your book. So that's an amazing that this, what do you want to call this, clairvoyance, or whatever you want to call this, okay, is happening in reality. And that's one of the reasons that we're here, is not to take Rudolf Steiner and prove that he was right. The idea is to take what you're doing and use Rudolf Steiner to see if you're right. That is the way you prevent copying him. And that's all we do is copy, 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 copy. Okay? We have to work out our own work and find out if it relates to what Rudolf Steiner says, and if it does, that's hot. Not the other way around. And that's what I found. So, if you take the outside, you know, I wonder what this was. I mean, what is this circle here? You know, I don't have that answer. What is the rest of the flower of life? We know that the seed of life is the earth. And I really like that. It's the seed of life. The seed of, see, no one ever knows where the flower of life geometry fit the earth. No one ever knew that. Now we know. It has nothing to do with the flower of life. It has to do with the seed of life. And that's what we are. We're seeds. This is the greatest discovery yet. That the flower of life. Okay. What is the flower of life? The flower of life is a cube. It goes around that thing perfect. That's another hexagram. And that's the reason that the size of the earth is the way it is because of the flower of life cube. So that means is that there is a cube on the inside of the earth that has a sphere in it, and there is a cube on the outside of the earth that has a sphere in it, which is the earth. And it's all based on this geometry that was from Egypt. And in between those two, what supports both the cube on the outside and the cube on the inside? The Chestahedron. The human heart. This is the geometry of the human heart. That means there's a geometry of the human heart in the earth. The earth has a heart. It has a constructed framework of scaffolding that's based on our heart. And that's why the earth is so sacred. And when we mess around with it, we're hurting its heart. We're hurting it's the manifestation of a sacred geometry. So these things here, here you can look at it. So what I'd like you to do, of course I'd like you to look at all this, but you really can't touch it. It breaks. And so much has already been bent in the suitcases, but I know how to fix it. I know how to make it. I know how to fix it. You know, they say the difference between a good carpenter and a poor carpenter. Know the difference?
No.
How do you get a good carpenter compared to a junk carpenter?
A good carpenter knows how to fix
What was that?
A good carpenter knows how to fix his mistakes.
That's right. The good carpenter, you don't know he made mistakes. Okay, that's why there's erasers on the end of the pencil. Because we all make mistakes, and I've made plenty of them. Okay? But I keep backing it up and looking at it for years and years. 14 years I've been looking at this to find out if this is true. So if you put a cone on the inside of the earth and a cone on the outside. Okay? Now you take a sphere, you put the Chestahedron in the earth, you put this form around the outside, and there it is. There it is. The geometry of the earth. That's a human heart. And so the vortex that's coming in to the blood, through the blood in the left ventricle, through the mitral valve, as a vortex going in, is the same size as the area that's coming into the earth. And I have the theory, and people say they don't like it or it's not right, that this circle here, there's two circles, there's a bigger one and a smaller one. This is what I think is the aurora borealis. The energy coming into this cone, okay, but it's coming out of this one. So in all of the space pictures that I've ever seen that were taken from space, that showed the aurora, okay, from space now, the aurora never goes in this circle. Never goes in there. And my idea is that because that's where the energy is running, and the energy is running in there. But to me, it's turning and going across here and back out. So to me, my interpretation, my subjective interpretation, which I have seen on the internet, that's 50% maybe true, that the aurora, okay, is not energy coming into the earth, it's the energy leaving. And that's my idea, and I think that okay, you can only see it at night, but you can't see it during the day. But it's there 24 hours a day. It's there during the day too. And one of the things that I liked about this is that there was an article written in New View about my idea about this aurora borealis in this New View magazine. And in here I show pictures of it taken from space. And you know, I selected these myself from the internet. And I'll show you that. Here it is here. As you see that at the top of the earth there's a ring. Yeah, and it's between these two lines. Where the bottom of the earth, the aurora goes across and into that circle. Okay, but it never does on this side, according to what I've seen from space, taking pictures from space. I've never seen the aurora, which is leaving the earth. I've seen ideas where the energy is running into the circle. Of course, it is. But the energy that's coming into the earth is different than the one energy that's leaving. There is a transformation of some kind that happens through. And that aurora borealis that's coming in through here, this aurora borealis that's coming, the energy that's coming here, and a lot of people call it, they call it plasma, they call it solar wind, whatever they call it. It comes in here, right? And then it comes out this ring, but never crosses there except at the bottom. and a different energy. And that energy that's coming into the Earth has to go through the core. So the material of the core, which is supposed to be iron, okay, this energy is going into iron and coming out something different, and turning around at the bottom of the Earth and coming back up. Now this is getting subjective on my part. I have no proof of this, no whatever. I just know that what I see on the internet and what I see in my form. That's all I have. Whether it's true or not, I'm not telling you it is. I'm telling you it's an interpretation. So in this article, I have how that's done. I have all these drawings to show how that works in the Earth. And here's the drawing that I saw from Rudolf Steiner. Rudolf Steiner, in his lecture before he died, he drew this form, which is the heart form, and then he drew this, which is the Chestahedron, which is the tetrahedron. And then he draws sticks in mud. This is just like I started. I started with sticks in mud. That's why Sept put it on the front. Because this is how I started. So, the flower of life. Okay, so you can say, well, there's a cube, right? There's a cube. If you take the form, the Chestahedron, and you put corners, you get this shape. This is another shape. So if I push the corner, if I take the center of the Chestahedron, center of this one, the center of this one, the center of this one, this one, this one, this one, and I connect them, they look like this. Now, if I take this form, I do the same thing. I take the center of this form, and the center of this one, the center of this one, the center, and the cube. The cube is right there. You can see it. Also, I found that if I take, now I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try. I found that this joy works better for bubble making than anything.
I have to get serious.
Well, I don't know if this is going to work because this is too much water. And this is not easy to do. But if I put it in here, let's see if I'm going to get so. Oh, it's not working yet.
Oh,
There's a cube.
oh my
A
God.
perfect cube. Absolutely perfect. Wait, went into a tear. Did you guys see the cube?
Yeah.
Good. We got a cube in minimum surfaces. And the cube sits just like it does in the Earth. It sits at root 3 at the top. And why that makes so much sense is if you take a cube and you try to spin it, it doesn't spin that very good. It's this way, flat. If you use edges, which is root 2, you spin it, it doesn't spin too good. But if you use root 3, it spins really good. And that's the way it's following itself in the bubble, in a minimum surface, and in the geometry of the flower light. Another way, you have to be careful. You have to be careful that, that I'm telling the right thing. If I remove this, okay, and I take this off, unfortunately this is broken. Suitcase somehow. I take that off and I put a half one on. You'll see that this point touches. Huh? That's very important because you can't see if this touches. You can't see. But if you take a half a sphere, you can. So this is one of the ways that you have to do to keep accurate. Is to try to make these things right. I'm sorry this is broken more than you are. So now I have to go back and whatever. These things are hard to make. So the reason I showed you all this is to show you a process that works where you don't have to have a particular code. So now I decided what I will do is to tell you how I work. I want to tell you how you can find, like I did, why I'm here. This is why I'm here. This is what I came to do. This is the agreement I made. And I fulfilled my dream. And I still got lots of years ahead. But basically, I found my destiny. And so, how do they do that? Or how do you do that? Let's say you haven't found it yet. One of the things that you have to do is you have to go back about 15 and 10 years, 15 years before you were born. You have to do that. That's very, very important. How do you do that? How do you do that?
We're waiting.
What?
We're waiting to hear.
Huh?
I'm waiting to hear.
You're waiting to hear?
Yes.
Well, I'm waiting to tell you too. This is great. This is how you do it. You look at your parents.
Oh dear.
And you find out what they were doing. Now, at certain ages, you know, sometimes you don't even be associated with them. But there's other times that changes in life. You do. Okay. And you have to eliminate all that. And find out what your parents, what they came here to do. What are they good at? What did they show you that you wanted to be with them? They had some kind of quality, okay, that you needed and that you wanted. And you may not know what that is. You may say they don't have anything. I know I laugh too. So. But, okay, at one time in my life, I didn't think my parents had any qualities either. But of course, you know, I'm different now. But, I mean, my dad was an aeronautical engineer. And my mother was a nurse. And she was always hanging around the hospital, right? And my father worked as an engineer. He worked on the first heart-lung machine in the world. Okay, it wasn't the kind that replaces the heart. It was the one that a big machine like this that they use in operations. And that was in the 50s sometime. So, and also, we're named Chester. Chest. So, if you have to look back and see, my dad could make anything. I mean, this guy was good. He made airplane models that were in the Smithsonian today. And he worked for Douglas Aircraft, and they commissioned him to make these planes. And he had money in a depression like you couldn't believe because he made these models. And they were good. And I was a little boy, and I followed him around. He was my hero. I wanted to make airplanes as good as he did. And I only now can say I'm as good as he was. All that time. Now I can make models probably as good as he can. But he was so good. So I was so interested. And my mother allowed me, and don't follow this suggestion at all, but my mother allowed me, okay, to not go to school whenever I didn't want to go. So I developed my own logger school. I mean, you know, I say that now. Because I had weather stations up in my trees, I collected butterflies, and all this kind of stuff. I collected all these different things when I was supposed to be in school. So that I was smart enough to go and pass the test, because all I wanted to do was get a D. Okay? And that's what I did. And so I was able to develop all kinds of different things that my friends couldn't. And I won, I broke the world's record in the hand-launched glider. I got second in the state, and I got third in the nationals and national championships.
In what? Of what?
Little airplanes. I had little airplanes that you throw in the air. Okay? And I mean, that's a big deal when you're 13 or 14 years old. I mean, a big deal. So, if you look at that, what was going on with your parents at a certain time is a very good clue, okay, for you to look at what you're here to do. Because they have part of that, something. They have part of you being here. Okay. Another thing, I just kind of scatter around here. You don't have to, like I said before, you don't have to have a big goal for research, okay, in your life. What you want to do. I mean, it might be a very, very simple thing you want to do. It might be arrhythmia. I don't know. But it's whatever it is, okay, you're being exposed to it. And if you went to Walter School, you have a great chance, okay, to keep the fire alive in you. That's why we send them, I think, there, just to keep the fire, not to let it get killed in regular education, which they're trying to do to me. So, what you want to do is what fires you up. What you would do if you had to pay to do it. Now, I was a teacher, and I liked it so much. I was a teacher for 34 years. I liked it so much, I used to go up to the administrator and say, you know, I really should be paying you to do this job, because I liked it so much. Okay, and the only reason I liked it, because I taught it artistically. Okay, so you need to find out what you're doing now, okay, if you're still questioning what you're doing now that you really like, or we will do when you retire. What is the thing you really want to do when you retire? What is it? What do you think it is? Me, I want to be an artist. I want to do art when I retire. It's exactly what I did, but I never thought it was anything like this. I was a sculptor. Figures, all this kind of stuff, non-objective, Brancusi, Moore, all these things, huh? Nothing to do with this. So you never know. Even though you may be working towards it, okay, you still will not know what it is. But you must keep working and find out what you like and what you would be paid anybody to do what you're doing. And if it isn't, then make it something you love to do. You don't have to change. You don't have to change jobs or locations or state or anything. All you have to do is figure out what will make the boss that you hate like you and what you're doing. What is it that, you go to a lecture and there are some people that are, okay. I had the experience of having horrible teachers. And then one time I thought, now what am I going to do? This one guy this guy was really bad. I said, what am I going to do to this guy to make him, a better teacher? Or, present it better. So what I did is I sat in the front row and I got on the edge of my seat. I looked at him with excitement by what he was saying. It changed him that one day. I'm telling you, this guy lecture all of a sudden became exciting. So you see what I mean? And when I used to go to the bank, I would look for the worst teller. I just go down around a little bit. That should look pretty good. Oh, this one's really good. This one's really messed up. I'm going to her. Now I go to her, okay, and week after week, whenever I go in the bank, I go to her, okay, and I would cheer her up, okay. So in 3 months, I would go to her and she would light up. She was the best teller you would ever want in your whole life. I couldn't walk in the door and she spotted me. So it's not just about you, it's about what you can do to others that makes you more excited about what's ahead of you. Because every one of you either had a plan, every one of you are got something that you're going to do, you just need to find it. And I'm just trying to come here and give you the example of what I found that excites me. So, what you're headed for is a lot of failure. I'm telling you, you're going to have a lot of emotional upheavals. And every one of those upheavals has a motive to help you realize what you're doing isn't correct yet. So every failure is a success. Because it's telling you it didn't work. I have lots of failures that didn't work. I mean, I've got lots of stuff that didn't work. Still like it, but it didn't work. Don't worry about the failures. Okay, they're there to help you. You must have failures. Failure and success is the balance in the heart. You can't take all the successes and go, yay, and then all the failures. No, you have to work with both of them because they work together. Real Standard talks about rickshaw. And that's reversing before you go to sleep. Your day. Okay. You have to do this reversal stuff, okay, during the day. Before it, not just when you go to sleep. You have to do it so that you don't have all of it at the end of the day and you can't remember anything. And it's just too much of quitting. You have to do this during the day, maybe before breakfast or after breakfast or whatever. Work on working backwards because that's what the heart does. That's a reversal. The heart has, in its inner chamber of the left ventricle, is an octahedron which is reversible. And it's constantly reversing on you less than 1 second your whole life. So reversals are important, just like you said. Okay, we all come here with a problem. All of us. We all come here with a problem. And it's based on our organs. Either we have a kidney problem. A kidney problem is a person who is always reversing. Never can make up their mind. Okay, each organ has a particular quality to it. Okay, you know, the liver. Okay, that's another one. Okay, and then the heart, of course. And each one of these have a quality. That's your first clue, is to find out your problem, because that's why you're here, is to solve it. You're here to solve that problem. Try to find out what it is, because your problem is your gift. What you're struggling with daily, as a real struggle, is your gift. It's been given to you to work on, not to avoid or take medicines to get rid of it. Or start drinking, or start smoking. Okay? That's working on the symptom. But you need to find out what your problem is, because it's unique. Okay? It's yours. And if you go to the doctor, okay, and he finds out that you've got a liver problem, then you've got to study what the liver represents. Not just that it, you know, takes out the alcohol or whatever. So you need to also look at yourself. Okay. And you need to look at how you are affecting others that are around you. And those are ways to know yourself. You know, Westeiner says know yourself. Waco says know yourself. So, another thing is, don't be afraid to be and do something different. Don't think that you have to have financial success. You don't have to have it. You don't have it, you don't have it. You do, you do. It's also part of your karma, or part of what you're doing here. So don't get depressed if you have too much money.
Look at his eyes.
Okay. Another thing you want to do is look at your mate, or your girlfriend, or your past mate, the divorce. And the reason you want to do that is because most of the time, what you're doing is making up for a deficiency you have that they don't. So, if your mate is really good at something, you may not be that very good. What you need to do is to work on finding a mate, or working with a mate that you already have, where you don't need them to depend on something you're not willing to work on. You need to work on what they're good at. If that's the problem. You don't know what the problem is. You'll never know what the problem is unless you look at it. So, if you were young, okay, and you start looking for somebody, or you meet somebody, whatever, make sure that you try to have a relationship with somebody, okay, that's based not on your deficiency. Be an all-around, adjusted, well-balanced person. Okay? That's what you're looking for. And if you can do that, you'll maybe find a mate who is also well-balanced. You know how they say that when you get older, you look just like the person you married? Or you look like your dog? I don't know. So a lot of people choose their dog, you know, because it looks like them. So we need to stop doing that, if you know what I mean. Okay, so don't worry about if you are a morning person or an afternoon person or an evening person. Whatever you are, work with it. And remember that if you get to a point where you can't figure something out, okay, that is the best place to be. Because what you can't work out is going to work. If everything's worked out, all the stuff is worked out. Well, I'm going to go skiing. Okay? Or I'm going to, I'm going to start. I mean, I gave up my freedom 14 years ago to do this work. I gave it up. I gave up my freedom. I have my freedom to have a boat and go out in the ocean and catch fish. Okay? I gave all that up, whatever I did. Or I want to go mountain biking or whatever. I gave all that up. I lost my freedom. I gave my freedom up willingly. No one told me I had to do it, and no one said it would be a good idea. Nothing like that. I gave my freedom up. And when I gave my freedom up, I became freer than I ever have been. I am now a free person. Before I wasn't. I was the most egocentric guy you'd ever meet. I gave that up, and now, okay, I am really free. I do exactly what I want, when I want, any day I want. Now you have to wait till you retire. In my case, I had to wait till I retired. Well, that may not be too long, All of you are going to reach that age probably, or you will retire. So plan for it. Plan for your retirement. And I don't mean financially. I mean emotionally. I mean spiritually. Find out what you think that you could do spiritually that isn't going to take away from your earth experience. Because all of you right now are spiritual beings. All of you spiritual beings. You don't need to do spiritual things. You need to do earth things. You need to be working here on earth. And the reason you need to work on earth, because this is the only place you can do it. Spiritual, you can't do what you do here. So what you have to do is realize that you are a spiritual being experiencing the earth life. And that's the cube. Everything's at right angles. Even though in your star chart readings, wherever you have a square, corner, that's your problem. So look at your star chart. I mean, not like, oh, this is wonderful. Look at those corners, how they're 90 degrees, and see what's going on there, because that's what you're here for, is to solve that. Nobody's perfect. Everyone has a problem. Every one of you has a problem. And every one of you are a spiritual being and looking for something to do here on this planet. And you can take across the full threshold as a gift. See, so try to find something. Like, see, that seal right there is what got me going. That seal. And I realize now, to this day, that seals are 7 bells. Those are 7 bells. Because Rudolf Steiner said that seal, he didn't see, he heard it. And in this book here, which is gone, oh, here it is. In here, you see, one of the things that he did here is he put in the seal. I didn't expect to do it. I sent it to him, and I didn't know what he was going to do, but he put it in. And there's the Saturn seal, when I first saw it. And each one of these are bells, the Chestahedron in motion. Okay, and here they are here, separated from them. And if you look, there are the bells. And that's why these curves are the way they are. That's why the seal looks like that, because there's a possibility that these are bells. And there's the geometry of the bell. And you spin it. I had the geometry. And I gave it to Sept. He put it in there. Of course, this is the Venus bell. This is the Venus seal. But that bell right there, okay, makes Saturn seal. Oh, I had no idea that. I mean, I'm not sure to figure that out. And then there was all kinds of things that I had no idea. Look, these are my studies. These are just the things I did at home. I don't even show. These are all in my closets. And all of these things here are what I did, okay, to study this form. I mean, they're this thick. And I have a whole bunch that I didn't give you. And they're all based, okay, on 7. 7, 7, 7, 7. And I'm still not sick of it. People ask, well, how can you be so stuck on one thing? I can't believe how much fun this is. Anyway, this shows here, they said, I read an article that said you couldn't put a 7-pointed star, okay, in the vesica, in the center circle. And so I was taking a bath and I read this. I baloney, I got out and I figured out this sequence. Here's the sequence of how that's done in 20 minutes. Why? Because I had been working on 7 all these years. So it wasn't that hard for me. And the step up this beautiful step here. There are 9 vesicles to make this film. And the Beginner's Guide to the Universe, an excellent geometry book, but this is impossible. Never been done anywhere.
What book?
Oh, book is called the Beginner's Guide to Constructing the Universe. Excellent book. And then this one here is squaring the circle. And what happened is that all the squaring of the circle that was done in Egyptian times was done with their Egyptian triangle, which is 3, 4, 5, and they put it at the top, and then they put the moon, and then put on the other side, and that relationship of that circle going around the moon and the earth squares the circle. And why that's important is because squaring a circle is bringing heaven and earth together. It's also bringing the male and the female together. Another form of balance. But I use the vesica. I use this same thing here that I've been doing all day. That vesica. I figured out how to do this. And Steph came up with a calculation that is 99.9.3%, 99.933 and on and on. That figure, that it is that close, 99.9, okay, is unbelievably close. Because in the past, the geometrist says if anything that's 99.0 is significant. This is 99.9. And it's coming from the vesica. Again, coming from the flower of life. It's also coming from the vesica, which is where they always draw the Christ, where they always draw Buddha, where they always draw Mary. Why? Because it's the balance. Christ and Mary and Buddha, all these ideals, okay, or gods, are all centered around balancing the human heart, balancing the emotional life, the feeling life, through thinking and will. Okay, so I tried to give you a little bit of this research, and if you have any questions, I'll tell you more. Yes? Oh, Steph, you might have to help me, maybe.
Translate it for you. So, Frank, in your sphere there with the core and the cube, sphere inside the sphere, the inner core is a sphere, and it really is symmetrical above and below the equator. The cube is also has a symmetry above and below the equator. I've seen some people do this with the star tetrahedron. They talk about, I think it's like 19 degrees above and below. So I don't see you doing that though with the Chestahedron, pretty much so that there's one pointing up and one pointing down. Have you played with that at all? And what have you learned from it?
Merkaba.
Well, that's a Merkaba.
Merkaba. And they take the tetrahedron and they put a tetrahedron on its face. So there are 2 interlocked tetrahedrons. And they have a point at the bottom and a point at the top, and they put a sphere on it.
That's the Merkaba.
Yeah.
What's your...
The problem with that is that the point is both at the top and the bottom. That's not the way it is in the Earth. The Earth has a big, hard Earth core, cap at the bottom of the Earth, and at the top of the Earth there's a hole. And it's triangular. It's an odd shape, it's a triangle. And therefore, the Merkaba is not correct for the Earth.
I just wanted to ask how you understand the Aurora Australis.
Understand?
The Aurora Australis?
What about it?
Well, you talked about the Aurora Borealis as being, in your understanding, this expression of energy out from the Earth, and the Aurora Australis then would
So,
be...
what this lady is talking about is that there is an aurora at the top of the wall. And if you look on the internet, they're the same size. Okay? You can see they're on Australia. Now you can see the Aurora Borealis is the same circle as it is on the top. Of course that makes sense. I mean, the reason that is because it's coming off the same cone. So if I cut the cone here, this is the one that's going in, which is exactly the same size as this. So the bottom aurora is this size, and the top is this size. They're exactly the same size, look. But One on the bottom, this is where the aurora is, and the one on top is here. They're the same size. Same size circles.
Okay, but do you understand them both as being outward expressions of energy, or is one an inward expression and the other an outward expression?
My idea is that the solar wind enters this way into the core of the Earth.
Through the North Pole.
Like this.
Okay.
All right. And it comes out the bottom at this point and goes across this and goes back up.
Does it move? Okay.
And this is what you see an oval at the top sometimes. But you never see one here. You'll never see an oval. I haven't seen one space shot that shows an oval at this end of the South Pole. But I do up here. And I've never seen any shot that showed the aurora that's going from here across like this. I've never seen it go across here. But I have here. But, you know, how am I to fix it? I don't know. That guy knows. Yes.
Is it possible that there's a loop then in the Earth as well?
Well, I don't know. I just don't know. I was interested in that loop. That loop is interesting. I don't know that. Remember, this is something you can't see. It's not there anymore in there. But the effects is, it's like there is a bill.
In Chinese medicine.
Oh, come on up here. I gotta hear it.
I teach Qigong, and let's say I had a knee surgery and the energy is cut. I get, my leg, I have a knee surgery like this, so the meridians are cut. But the body remembers the energetic pattern. There's like the ghost of course. Of course. So then there must be the same loop.
That's what the Renaissance calls the etheric.
Right.
The etheric body.
Right.
So,
Good.
just so I'm clear, you think the solar wind comes in through the North Pole and then concentrates down into the South Pole and then comes back up again? Comes back up on the surface of the Earth and in the interior of the Earth?
Inside it.
And then exits where?
Totally against all the magnetic theory. Magnetic theory is a total second one. Okay, it's another guy's idea. I find that people have done research and shows that it has a magnetic effect. I don't deny that. Okay? But I don't think that the etheric, okay, that is coming out of the Earth and coming into it, okay, is physical.
Do you think it's exiting at any point? Where
What's that?
Where is it exiting at?
Or the hexagon?
Where is the etheric energy exiting? I see where it's coming in and it's coming back around. Oh, so it's like exiting at the equator somewhere?
We'll see. Remember that there's a triangle at the top with a circle in it, and a circle outside it. And the Chestahedron, right? Okay, so there's the cone. If I cut it there, this cone, it's over. And now there's a cone on the outside, which has a hole at the bottom the same size as the cone that's coming inside. So here's the aurora that's running outside at the top of the Earth, and here is the aurora at the bottom of the Earth. So this is exiting, okay? This is going across and coming out. That's my idea. Now, I don't know if I have another picture, but here they are. Here's the oval and so forth. Now this oval sometimes will get larger. But I've never seen it go across the center.
The picture of the oval and the aurora borealis makes me wonder if you looked at the circular vortex and its patterns. It's the vortex that basically causes the pressure gradients that causes our jet stream and our winds. And I wonder if that's something.
Well, that's a good question, and I also have that question. I don't know if I can show you here. But, okay, at the top. See, all of these are upside down. I don't know if you know that, but you see, this is the way it is in the Earth. This is the way it is in the Earth. Now, if you look at the Earth, there's a triangle here, here, and here. There's a triangle, right? I have seen pictures where the aurora will start in one triangle, and then it will get bigger and roll around itself here and make another spot right here at this triangle. So there's a spot here that gets bigger, then there's a little tiny one over here, and then this one will get bigger, and then the third one will come in. But Not always. But I have it, and I have pictures of it on the computer that show where those, how it gets bigger. Now it goes around. And what I like about that, is that one big spot that gets there before the old ones come in. And why I like that is because that's the aorta valve. It's the aorta valve that, that allows the blood to go out of the heart. Okay, I see that happening here, but this is not blood. This is the etheric, or what do you want to name? But I see that one point there as of the first valve. But then it spreads around and makes the other two. But anyway, I like that connection. I like that connection that there was a valve there, or could be a valve. Because in the heart, that's the way it is. The cone that comes in is the mitral valve, and on the outside, the second ring, this is the mitral valve, right here. And then this is the aorta valve, right there.
So like the earth, like the heart, the earth is sort of an etheric condenser and decelerator.
You know, there's all these kind of fantasies. It would be wonderful if this was true or whatever, and I don't know that. I just know that it's fun for me to do that too.
Right.
So, what about the at one point you mentioned the inner core of the earth and iron.
Yeah.
And where, did you go somewhere with that?
I just know the size.
And what does
And
that have
also
to
the
do with
scientists are
iron?
saying that one is iron, one is magna, one is kind of like ice cubes floating in the liquid and moving around and so forth. So all of that stuff is on the internet. Much better than, okay, you have to remember another thing about this work. I have to tell you this. Is that you can't carry everything around with you. I tell you, there's so many things that I have forgotten. And then you'll see something here, and you'll see that, oh, I'm hesitant because I can't remember. The reason is because I have to limit my knowledge to, so that I can have an empty space in it. So that something new can come in. And this is why I forget so much, is because I need to. I need room. So in your application, I don't carry that around with me. I don't carry around the figures about the size of the core, how the earth is, what size I want the core is, and what size. I got this right here. I just go with this right here. It tells me. No, I mean, that's really, I don't carry these things around with me. I don't know them. But I know how it's the size. Anytime I can refer to this, and I've done this, and I've measured it out, and I've drawn it out, and everything is right on.
That's freedom.
So don't try to remember everything. Not necessary. They asked Henry Ford, they asked him, we're going to take you to court because you didn't do something good on this vehicle. He says, well, you can do that, but I'm going to bring my engineers with me. Oh, no, this is by you. I says, oh, no. I have engineers that answer my questions. I don't have time for that. Nami has time for that, but he's not good at that. Okay? So I'm not good at measuring colors, but I'm good at this. So I stick with this for now. So all of you have something to do. All of you have something to do. Should fire you up. You don't even need to sleep as much.